Bibi's cabinet who have come out and attacked the deal, and in some ways very personally attacked the president of the United States. And I guess my message to them would be twofold. Number one, Donald J. Trump is the only head of state in the entire world who is sympathetic to the nation of Israel at this moment in time. And he happens to be the head of state of the world superpower. If I was in the cabinet of the Israeli government, I might not be attacking the only powerful ally that I have anywhere left in the entire world. Is that over the last 3 months, 2/3 of the defensive weapons that have protected your homeland have been built by American hands and paid for by American tax dollars. And anybody in Israel who thinks their biggest problem is the president of the United States needs to wake up and smell the reality of the situation that country is in. You all.
Wow. Let's talk about that. Neil, I'm going to bring you here. There's J.D. Vance. He's telling the Israelis to wake up and smell the matzo ball. How much grave danger is J.D. and Trump at this point in time?
Yeah, could you imagine being J.D. Vance trying to explain everything that's going on between Trump 1.0 and Trump 2.0?
But yeah, you've seen people in their system, Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, who've attacked the deal. And I guess my response to them would be, you're a country of 9 million people. You can't just kill your way out of solving every single national security problem that you have.
Because those are some incredible words we have not heard from almost any American politician in our lifetimes about Israel. You can't kill your way out of this mess, implying that they're trying to kill their way out of the messes that they have created. And that is obviously true, but I didn't know our politicians were allowed to say true things about Israel.
Genocide in Lebanon. As you know, your alignment, Israel has something like genocide in Lebanon. The main issue is stopping this.
Well, ma'am, I think that the President of the United States and the United States of America have done more to stop the conflict in Lebanon than any government anywhere in the world over the last few months, and we're going to keep on working towards it. What today really represents is the beginning of a technical negotiation that's not going to solve every disagreement, but is going to allow us to sit together as teams for the first time really in history to figure out what matters most to the respective parties, to settle those issues, to solve those issues, and get to a better tomorrow. We got a lot of work to do. We're excited to do it. Thank you all for being here.
Smart, very smart. You know, the Iranians, very smart people. They're sort of primitive, genius, but they're smart.
Trump understands how shafted he got. He understands just how fooled he was. And he's clearly bitter about it. And he understands further that in order to get out of this, he needs to make this deal, bad as it may be, because there's no option.
I want to say to people in and out of the administration, stop trashing, smearing, bullying the little state of Israel.
If Iran continues to attack Israel and Lebanon, the new policy will be, we'll hit Iran. So to the Iranians, if you're listening, when you use Hezbollah to attack Israel, I think the new policy will be, we will attack Iran.
They told me not to enter Rafah. I entered Rafah. They told me not to confront Iran. We confronted Iran.
Earlier today, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said his forces are not leaving Lebanon. That is a sticking point in these conversations. He said it publicly in Israel.
Well, we're going to take a look at it.
Well, what would you do to make sure that he doesn't sabotage the deal?
What I'm going to do, but get solved. I'm a problem solver. I get problem solved real fast.
80 years ago, in the Holocaust, the Jewish people were totally defenseless against those who sought our destruction. No nation came to our aid. Today, we again confront enemies bent on our destruction. I say to the leaders of the world, no amount of pressure, no decision by any international forum will stop Israel from defending itself.
Okay, welcome everybody to Real Deal Media's World at War. I'm Dean Ryan. A little late tonight. I'll explain why. I should have a doctor's note. Hopefully everybody can hear me. If not, we're all in big trouble. But tonight's episode, and yes, I'm in a undisclosed offshoot of a location here, but there's a lot to get to. I'll explain. But anyways, tonight's episode is mind-controlled president, and I say that to you because I just had about a 2-hour incredible briefing and a conference call of sorts with an all-star panel of people, one of them being our very own Neil Bishop and the great legendary James Martinez. And where do I begin? Where do I begin? And that's why I am a little late tonight, because the amount of information that was given to me, and I'm going to recite it to you, obviously not verbatim, but to the best of my ability to relay to all of you what is actually happening. And maybe if I call myself a former CIA, rugrat of sorts, or a former military, maybe people will start listening and really take things seriously here, because Real Deal Media has been proven time after time to be far above and beyond the curve here. And tonight is going to be no different, but let me just explain it. Well, there's going to be some headlines too. That's why tonight is a special edition, as we are broadcasting on X. We're also broadcasting on Rumble, and I think we're on the Marginalized Travel page on Facebook. But tonight is a special edition and a continuation of what was put out late last night, and I do apologize for the extreme lateness of it. Let's just say I had to do a couple of takes for obvious reasons. I get ahead of myself. Anyways, there was a lot that was discussed as the mind control hearings that, what was it, about a month ago took place, that were abruptly stopped. By the Central Intelligence Agency, or as many people on the street know them, Mossad Light. They were stopped as they took documents about what's to come. So things of that nature were broached, but also we got into some of a word you're going to learn here tonight, something called the CIA's reframing. Reframers. For instance, you tell me, or I say to you, oh no, that sky's not blue. No, that's not a blue sky. No, it's not. That's green. And it's green because we've opened a portal where descendants of other beings are coming through it. Therefore, it might make you think it's blue, but it's green. Trust me, I'm an insider. That cognitive creation that has continued to this day, that has followed me in this industry, if you want to call it that, so-called peers, if you will, that is still affecting people today. And that's, you want to call it the Q experience, the QAnon, or shades of Q, Trump Incorporated, then that's what we'll call it. But I'll get into it, and please remind me if I don't. And I'm also now I have a very evolving yet different viewpoint and take on Donald Trump. And why that is, because, and if you saw the special, and if you haven't, see the special timeline from last night. And there's a lot of changes. It's hard to keep up with the changes in the headlines of the current because it is going fast. But there's a greater, and I would even say graver, danger up ahead. And yes, it involves the Israelis, who are not really have, or I would say the Zionists have no allegiance to any particular origin of destination or country that they claim to be from, but they are going for the gusto. Their army is our ignorance. You see, their military is our ignorance. Their true Iron Dome is our media, from the corporate end to this very alternative independent industry that I've found myself falling into by default 6 years ago once again. And it is involving a lot of people who, probably a lot of you, I would Suffice to say that a lot of you watch out there. I get a lot of people that send me all over Facebook a lot of links, and a lot of them are from the same common characters and names that we hear about, and we've probably became aware of the past 6 years in this pandemic war that we've now find ourselves in still, but a pandemic of a different kind that evolves and mutates. But one thing I must say, one thing remains the same for me in also how I evolved from my blind spots is 6 years ago. First thing I said, one of the first things I said in the first couple of shows we did, and when I started doing my special reports, was we are embarking on a World War III, into a new universe of a multipolar world order, and a true fight and clash of civilizations between Israel and China. And look where we find ourselves today. And I said that at a time when people weren't even talking about China. Nobody was even dreaming about the potentials of anything Israel. And people were just fighting and arguing over the Kleenex or the toilet papers. You recall that? That's how far into my insider future I was going, because I was looking beyond the pale horse, to quote Bill Cooper. And I dared to do it, to stand alone on that. And we all have that in us. We all have it in us. And it's darkness before the dawn, as you can see here. So these are things I was looking into, and we are now embarking on the next phase of our final boss, because the Israel case, I think, is signed, sealed, and nearly about to be delivered here. There's no turning back. The cat's out of the bag. Once you find the emperor has no clothes, or in this case, the rabbi has no shekels, you tend to not turn that into that direction again. But there's a greater force at hand. So I'm going to tell you all about it now. There's also things happening now from afar, because I think the biggest misconception about Iran is, well, number one, we've all kind of been brainwashed to kind of have a bias against Muslims right here in the United States, starting with 9/11. But if you go back, you look at all the films, all the boogeymen were always the Iranians. Even in Back to the Future, if you recall that wonderful classic film. Well, it was, oh no, the Iranians are coming. And it's been a long time coming to this point. But when you look at who's making the movies, when you look at the so-called programming by the Hollywood trees planters, you can see that this was a predestined historical position that we find ourselves in. But the misconception about the Iranians is that they're just a bunch of primitive cavemen who want to behead everybody. And I think that's a dastardly big mistake now, considering all the information that's out there. But it's far from the truth. These are very resilient, intelligent people, just like all of us are. And there's not a lot of difference, although there's a unification of the Persian people due to the persecution they have been enduring by the West since 1954, when the CIA did a coup d'etat on their duly elected president and installed the Shah. And they've been persecuted. So in a sense, they know what the score is. They know what the deal is. But I wouldn't ever believe that we'd be in a position now where the actual Iranians, in this case, are not the bad guys. They could potentially be one of the integrity, one of the countries left with integrity that could actually save us from this capture that we're finding ourselves in by the Israeli government, and also the mad scientists of the mind control world. And certainly, I can tell you now, after 2020, and I want to say starting in 2022, when Donald Trump started resurfacing again, and then I didn't really pay attention. There wasn't that gusto there because something was different. And then when his election to get reelected was in full swing, there was definitely a difference in character, and I certainly noticed it too. And I'd be lying to myself if I didn't say in his debates with Biden in 2020 for his reelection, where they stole it from him. But I'm now coming to my senses in a way. The smelling salts from afar and above have really awoken me to a lot of things. Now, where I'm getting at, the energy has been a lot of places, but it never has been back with Donald Trump like it used to be. Almost, it feels like such a long time since I've seen it, and there was no inspiring moment, but it was just like a sleepwalk through the last two elections. It felt that way. And when I had a so-called insider, privately tell me in 2020 that by 2022, they will have full control of Trump by 2022. I kind of took that with a grain of salt, but yet I kept it in my back pocket, and I've been learning these things more and more and more. Now, that brings us to the so-called Q team that are supposedly around Trump, which I'm just going to tell you, I've fully see the Q experience as a Mossad creation, total Mossad creation. We have such an infiltration, an embedded foreign adversary in every just facet of our existence here on this planet, but really right here in the United States, that they are controlling a lot of what we perceive as reality from our feelings and our personal opinions about other countries that we've never been to. We don't know many people like that, but it's getting filtered to us and being presented as reality. So I've noticed that a deterioration in him, and then he gets back into office. And then people kind of just, well, it's time to go back to taking a nap. I feel better now. Well, that was great. When the actuality is the entire Israeli government is in full control of the executive branch to even the state levels. And dare I say, there are branches within your own city council that are they're either on the take or they're actual operatives themselves. And that's how the Mossad works in mysterious ways, to use that phrase. So I want to show you this here. And there's a reason for the season, the rhyme, and the crime as well. Look at that. And everyone's seen a deterioration in Donald Trump. They asked him just the other night. They asked him, Mr. President, and if you saw the special, they asked him, what are you going to do if you continue this war and you're losing the American people? And he acts surprised. Like, what are you talking about? This is not a supported war. And then they make the deal in Switzerland. We'll recall that over the weekend. J.D. Vance, Mr. Smoky Eyes. And then right away, he threatens to re-nuke Iran. So where I'm getting at too is I also believe that Iran knows that there's something amiss with Donald Trump, and certainly his behavior with the Italian leader over there, Georgia. It is not right. And look how ill he looks. Look at that. That is not dementia. Nobody gets dementia and deteriorates physically that fast. That does not happen. He's insulated. He doesn't know what the hell's going on. And, I can make the case back in the Trump 1.0, as Roger Stone shared with me privately and then actually went public on it, that he's so insulated. They have complete control of his phones, obviously, but he believed they're poisoning him. And I believe that too at the time, and the poisons of thallium. And I think what we're dealing with this go around for Trump 2.0 is well beyond thallium. And one of those things that we're going to get into tonight, right here, is the electronic magnetic frequencies that Israel now let that cat out of the bag just the other day on their own Israeli local news, of course, blaming Iran for controlling Trump using the EMF. And like I said in the special, you know what the revelation is. You know how they're revealing themselves through projection. It's just part of the culture. It's part of the seance, the ceremonial procedures. And that's exactly what that is. So we're going to make a case here tonight, certainly I am at least, on just that fact, because it doesn't make sense. And the fact now that the Israeli government, the Likud cabinet, that is the Netanyahu administration, they are now, without saying it, alluding to the fact that they're going to use nukes. They're not saying, because they technically, and not even technically, they're not supposed to have any. They don't have anything on the books. That's how rogue and dangerous this, far greater than the Nazis at this point. That's how dangerous this rogue nation is of settlers. And that's how much grave danger we're in the United States, as we have allowed these people to just come in the front door. They have to take their shoes off and embed dirty bombs and all kinds of now new weaponry all around us, because mind control in the modern era doesn't require a planted chip. Mind control doesn't require the old LSD and magical potions from Dr. Einstein. Mind control is being used in frequencies. It's being used in also, what I said earlier, reframers. And that's how this apparatus looks. And it's leading us to now the new data centers, where the mind control is going to be storing all of our thoughts, all of our patterns and brainwaves, and it's going to be stored in these data centers, and it's going to far surpass anything of law and order. And it's going to make the Constitution a thing of the past, in the same regard that Canada and the rest of the Commonwealth has made the Magna Carta. So bad, to the point they don't even teach the youth in the Commonwealth countries anything about the Magna Carta, which is the basis of the United States Constitution. Go to any courthouse, you'll see. So that's how dangerous this is. And Palantir is involved heavily in this, and why they want, for instance, one of my, to give you a greater example, to put it in layman's terms, to put some substance to this, is when your Apple iPhone is asking you for your biometric fingers. And I saw this in 2010. I tell the story often, is when the gyms of the 24-hour fitness crew, when they want to say, oh, you can just use your thumbs. Well, I asked her, where does the thumbprint go? And then, then we saw former TSA, or excuse me, Homeland Security of the Bush era, Michael Chertoff, dual citizen Israeli operative, when they used the underwear bomber of 2009 to freak everybody out. They used that as the precursor to putting in the naked body scanners at each and every airport. And I, for one, wanted nothing to do with it, because you don't know where those go. And they're going into a storage facility, because biometrics is what's needed to control the thought patterns, and also for the AI weapons. And it's just like when you heard they take the blood of newborn babies in hospitals, and they, you can look this up. They send them to the Pentagon, a lot of the blood samples, because they want to make bioagent weapons based on your DNA that will affect some people and not affect. I mean, if you recall during the, who remembers Coronapalooza during that era? Who remembers hearing about how, well, there's certain ethnicity was getting the COVID more so than the other ones were completely just unable to get it. The blacks were get it, but maybe not the, so that's part of the beta testing. That's part of, and a lot of what that 2020 Event 201 was the precursor, the beta test, the tracking, the rewarding for snitching. So that's where we're going with this. So now we find ourselves where we are on the brink of a nuclear war, and it goes both ways too. It goes both ways because we don't have control. We don't have the control of this country. We have been overtaken now since 1963 by the rogue nation of Israel. And every incidence of a just horrible, horrific experience in this country, whether it's 9/11, it's the assassinations of the 20th century. They're behind it. That's why their names are blacked out. They have their people in power, whether it's Ratcliffe now and the CIA, or the FBI people with Mr. Kash Patel, or the Dan Bon Bingos of the medias. They have their people in place, and they also knew that there was going to be an uprising, and they had to lullaby us. They had to lullaby us, and it started before the coup. It started with the Clintons getting in to power in the early 90s. And the first thing they started to do was to demonize homeschooling, but also to demonize the other part of the Second Amendment, which is a well-armed, regulated militia. And that's what gave us Waco, the Davidians, to make an example. All the gun laws and everything. And then the Telecommunications Act of 1996, which really started depleting the independent station owners of TV and radio, and gave everything to Clear Channel so they can control it. They want centralized power. So it started there. And then they knew with the Tea Party, and the other CIA asset, Obama, they knew that there was a minority of anger, and it wasn't coming from actual per se minorities, but it was coming from the people with the guns, the conservatives, the libertarians. So therefore, they had to create the patriotic psyops, and that's what you have with the QAnons. And it's not a topic I talked about in my 6 years. It's not a subject that I followed. I've watched the waters. I've had my popcorn, all that stuff. It's just not something I do. And there's something awry when just the mere question of authenticity, the mere question of, well, we've been waiting for a little while, or what's going on here, and when the followers harp on you, jump on you, now you start realizing that there is a cult going on, and I hope people realize that. I know I'm preaching to the choir here. If not, if this is new to you, and if this sounds so out of bounds, you just got to realize sometimes you have to step away to see what's right in front of you. Truly. And, you talk to people who come from abusive families, growing up. Maybe that's you out there. And you don't know how bad it is because that's normalized until you actually get out of the house and walk away and you say, oh my God, wow. Yeah. And I'll be full transparency. I mean, I was so young when we did the Iraq War. I thought it was righteous. Yes, we have to protect, and the way Fox News was being presented back then, and for people that don't pay attention, it is like, wow, how can you even question anything? Of course. And that all went away the day, for me personally, the day that Bush left. And it was like, oh my God, what did we just do? You see? What did we just do? And I'm predicting, if that hasn't happened to a lot of you out there, and there's no judgment here, there's no harm, no foul. If that hasn't happened, then there's people that have to step away then and to see what's really taking place right now in our country and around the world. And one of those people too, I'm going to show you this, and then I want to show you, as we get back to the mind control, as this is a special edition here tonight, I want to show you right now, you might recall one of the first alternative voices to emerge from the Pizzagate era that then came in and fell into the QAnon, which isn't that something? A lot of us with the WikiLeaks, all that in the Pizzagate, we were all figuring these things out together, and then that just the QAnon just came out of nowhere. But one of those early figures from my recollection, was a journalist called Liz Crokin, who is really at the forefront of a lot of the Pizzagate, a lot of the realms, all the different groups, and her findings, and certainly what fine work she did against the John Legend and Christina Teigen, I believe that's her name, who are just horrific, pitiful people. And I'll never forget that, but I'm quite grateful for that. But I want to show you where Liz Crokin is now. Liz Crokin took a little hiatus and has now come back into the playground. And, a lot of people are saying, you're talking about trafficking, Liz, because Liz Crokin spoke about the Pizzagate, talking about trafficking. I think she was involved with was one of the revealing movies. Well, she came back, and everything was happening. It was a different world. You had the Charlie Kirk experience happen, but then the Epstein files came out, and she would talk about that. And she's still a huge Trump supporter, and would not really address the redaction of Donald Trump's name throughout all of the files and a lot of the very seedy allegations. And she would just kind of leapfrog over that. And I understand those who do that in media because maybe they don't know the art of the segue, but they also have really invested into somebody or something that became part of the brand. And if they were to go against that, they would have to have maybe something else or somewhere else to jump to, and don't know how to make that transition, or just will ignore it and double down. A lot of people do the ignoring and doubling down. But we don't do that here. I'm not an absolutist by any means. I'm not sure I'm a conservative or liberal, but I'll tell you what, I'm a gambler, and I'm just trying to get out of this casino like many of you. And that's really what it comes down to. The partisan politics is so 2016 at this point, and very, very pedestrian, as some would say. Well, let me show you this now. Here's Liz Crokin today, and it plays into a greater portrait we're trying to paint here tonight. As I'm telling you, the mind control is in full effect. Here's Liz Crokin. Have a look at this. This is what she's saying now. Well, here she is. She says the following: the morale is low. We feel we have been left behind because we have. We are forgotten patriots and anons who gave up everything for President Trump and this movement. You guys have forgotten about all of us who carried President Trump to win 2 elections since 2016. As you have propped up all of the known frauds, including foreign Mossad influencers, we're done being treated like shit. So sorry we aren't super giddy over lame tweet about Q from the White House X page after we all have been kicked to the curb like absolute piece of trash and have had our lives destroyed. It's honestly beyond insulting at this point. Wow. Liz, don't hold back, please. Don't hold back. But it's the comments, though, I want you to have a gander at, because the comments are the revealing part and what I would call cognitive dissonance. So you're being very bitchy right now. You sound like another Anon wannabe, okay? Don't lose hope. Without Q and Trump, we'd be in hell. You mean you're not pumped, Howard Litney? So, you see? Look at this one. MAGA great genes, let him cook, locked in. Okay, so I just, it goes on and on. And, you know, let me tell you the common theme with a lot of the people that, and you got to understand, 6 years I've been here with all of you, and in the beginning, the meteoric rise of myself was incredible, but the amount of messages, emails, the volume was overwhelming, and so I can tell you, I have a good grasp on the demographic of people that are following what and what exactly. And in my view, the QAnon was meant to target people who never followed politics before, who didn't really get involved in any of this, and a lot of women as well. I'll come back to that in a second, but it gave people a feeling of, oh, no. And people used to tell me this all the time. What are you worried about? No, everything's in control. Trust Trump. Trust Trump. No, it's part of the plan. You have to wait. Nobody said it was a 4-year plan. It's now an 8-year plan. Or it's been in the make for 50 years. What are you all worried about? You're being bitchy. And people tell me this all the time. Get your head out of your ass. I've lost a lot of people to a lot of these situations here. But that was the demographic of people, just everyday, I guess you could say, folks that are not politically astute, had no ambitions to be politically astute, but were put in a position to do so, and had such great discontent for the mainstream anything from the NBC News to the local registered papers. So that anger, that hatred was put into a conveniently provided outlet that gave people a lot of hope. People learned a lot of things, no doubt, but it also was a buffer from people truly galvanizing together to put a kibosh to the cabal in kind of the things that we're seeing right now in like Albania, and on and on. So just to give you an idea. And Liz Crokin was certainly one of the leaders in the forefront of that. And it was an exciting time. And then, it was very exciting for people to get the genuflect of a symbolic, a tipping of the hat from Donald Trump. But see, it was the people around him. Jared Kushner is Mossad. And how Mossad and how high-leveled infiltration works, especially in the political world, is they don't just infiltrate you through business, they do it through marriage. And we saw the same thing in 2012 with Ron Paul, Congressman Ron Paul, who ran for president and had huge support and backing. His campaign manager, Jesse Benton, was a operative sent to his campaign by Mitch McConnell and married the daughter of Ron Paul. And that's how he got infiltrated, because in the end, he didn't stand up to Mittens Romney, stood down. And he did it for the betterment. He thought it would help Rand Paul in his path and journey in the DC Beltway. So that's how that happened. Now, fast forward, We haven't heard from the Q Experience in quite some time after 2020, maybe once or twice, I believe. And it's not something I followed because I'm different. I'm the musician in a way that doesn't want to learn how to read music. I want to experience it. That's fine. And I didn't want to be influenced by a lot of people. And to this day, the same thing. I wanted to be a true gumshoes and do my own research, to use that phrase, and also to feed off what was presented to me and sent to me through all of you out there. And I think that for me, that was my healthy balance. But fast forward now, here we go into the anon personas out there. So now that we've now moved past the chapter 1 of the pandemic, this new wave of media has come in, and you might have heard of people like, well, 107. 107. Hey, he seems like a nice guy. I put him in touch with some people that were trying to meet him. I had him booked on my show about 6 years ago. He never made it. Many of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Well, 107 is interesting because there's people like him. He's constantly on the Nino Rodriguez show. Yeah. And there's the whole group of them. But let me tell you, and I think it's time we have that talk as we're working our way up to the mind-controlled avenues now with Donald Trump and presidents alike. People like that, he's what the CIA calls and actually hires as what they called a reframer. Reframing. No, we're not going to war for oil. We're going to there because they are destroying the Nephilim landmarks and artifacts of portals and also rare bullion gold from the ancient Egypt era. Stuff like that. Now, that's far out. And the logical minds out there and people that have been in, consuming the news world for a long time, or people that are into geopolitics, that right part of the brain doesn't apply, and they won't have any of it. But one of the main objectives of this pandemic was to play on the emotions of women. And certainly that is what we see in American television today, especially daytime TV for those who still watch it, but many do. A lot of the stay-home moms. If you add the salaciousness to it, and you add the what could be the journey of it, and get people hooked to that, and then you add the religion to it, you add the God aspect, then it becomes just that. You just married it to the very thing people, and many people out there, if you marry it to Christianity, and then it becomes a gospel. In the same regards that the Zionists and the Talmud married a very demonic interpretation of everything, and married it to, I guess you could say, modern day Judaism, and then marry that to the ethno-state of Israel and their prowess of the Greater Israel Project, then if you're against that, then you're against the religion. In the same regard that Bush did it with the evangelicals, marrying that to the Republican Party starting in 2000 onward. And that's how you see how this thing works. That's why church and state are very, the separation of church and state is very important. And the forefathers fought to the tooth and nail to the very end to keep it separate, because there's a lot of misfits, derelicts, and deceivers, or what we would call reframers. And definitely he's one of them. And you see them out there, and the credence and the merit, I should say, that they get is because they're former military. They're former CIA. It doesn't mean that they're not still bankrolled by the very agencies that they were, wink, wink, working for, or maybe now they are. And not to mention when it comes to these wars, let me give you an example here. The Venezuela invasion was sold to a great percentage of the people who are, very angry about the election of 2020 and, shades of Q and all that. It was sold to them by him that the reason we were going into Venezuela and we had to do it is because they're behind all of the stolen elections all over the world, and they have the key to the warehouse where all the dead bodies are, the Dominion machines. And if we're to retake the country, we have to do it. We have to do it. Do you see? And when I first heard that, I felt ill, because to purposely craft a concocted narrative that is a falsehood and a half and just a bold-faced lie, and to go on air and then to have your syndicates who you're a friend of the show with and many of these other shows that I don't pay attention to because I just do my own thing. I belong to no club, and I'm not sure people want me to belong to their club as well. I'm what the Stray Cats were to the 1980s, I often say. But when I heard that, and I heard these people concocting and going with it, and then then they're all giddy about the Iranian war, and there is that Christian Zionist factor that's definitely the motivator there. But it's also they're given orders, and then it's spread to their syndicates who don't know they're given orders, and they just think, well, he knows things. He's been around. And it's almost like when I was in Catholic school, who would ever question a priest before all the scandals happened? Oh, okay. Is it just natural for a priest to just sit in on class while we're being taught sex education? Okay, no question there. You don't question, because when you question, just like Scientology, you get outcasted, you get marginalized. Ultimately, you get defamed, if not worse. And I've just up until recently, I never talked about it, but now I felt the need, because we're in 2026 now, halfway through it, and we're watching other people continuously chase the dangling carrot. And as they're chasing, they're looking at others and behind them and saying, look at these people. We know what's coming. You can't stop what's coming. You can't stop. Okay, well, then that's fine. But you know what? We're going to stand with the United States Constitution. We're going to stand with something that's solid foundation and not a speculation of a narrative that came from a fringe podcast of former intel agents and operatives with many, many acolytes and knowledge, wisdom. We're going to go with them, and anything that's in our purview, we're going to shut the doors of perception to that and go with their perception. Although isn't that what people did with Trust the Science? Trust the science. Get the Pfizer. Just it's like Eric Clapton. Eric Clapton got the miracle jab, and he knew everything. We all knew before getting it. He knew how his friends were doing after they got it. But you know what? He trusted, I wouldn't say the science in that case, but the peer pressure. And you know what happened? His entire hand got paralyzed, and Mr. Slowhand couldn't play guitar for a long time, and I'm not sure he plays it the same anymore. And we see this happening, this cause and effect happening to all varieties, shades, and figurations of demographics and peoples still. So this is what people are doing, and I'm telling you, it's dividing us, because And just like when I see people who are partisans saying, why would you want to listen to that person? That's a conservative guy. That's terrible. Or why would you want to listen to that person or befriend anyone that is a liberal? That's where we lose, because a fractured society is an easier society to control, manipulate, and ultimately destroy. And because of this, we're losing the target and the sights on what is exactly in front of us. And what is that, you might ask? Well, that's a good question. I want to show you this, because the mind control, as I was saying earlier, is right in front of us, and how anyone cannot see that it went from, just give me an example. It went from trusting Trump, who's clearly dying right before us, okay? Dying right before us. This is a man who has, not sure is in control. I'm actually pretty sure he's not, and who's literally doing everything 180 against his own doctrine of diplomacy and itineraries, is doing everything that's not benefiting us, but benefiting a whole group of other people, and is deteriorating right in front of us. And I'm thinking to myself, too, where's the sons in this? Outside of just, self-enrichment, this guy is being poisoned. In my heart's a heart, I see it, because I was very in tune to a lot of what Donald Trump was doing when he was going to do it in 2020. I really was. But I want to show you this now, and because it's not a crazy conspiracy theory. This is conspiracy reality. And we're about to go Mach 5 next level after we defeat our current adversaries with the help of foreign nations at this point. Check this out now. To show you what goes on behind the scenes here, when the lights go out, to show you what goes on behind the scenes of the presidency, you can't ignore this this classic clip of Bill Clinton, and this should give you an example of what Donald Trump is going through right now. Have a look. This is from 94.
In covertly recorded off-air transmissions from the Bush-Clinton presidential election campaign in the 1990s, we can see that Bill Clinton was nothing more than a puppet to the puppet masters which placed him in the White House. Bill Clinton's demeanor seems to be similar to a person who is under a hypnotic trance.
Everybody see that? That's what we're dealing with here. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. So, so my message now to the Anons out there, or the people, the shades of, the people that follow these people, you can't ignore this. You can't ignore the fact that, we have a deal made, and then Trump goes absolutely bananas and berserk just out of nowhere. There's something that is affecting the cognitive brain of somebody who is destroying not only the country, but everything he worked for his entire life and career with his brand. Something that any father who builds a big business and wants to leave it behind for his children and theirs definitely wants to protect towards the end of their life. And that's not happening. And from the Donald Trump that I remember, that I recall, that I, a couple degrees of separation, worked with on certain projects of getting presidential pardons and exonerations for the Bundy Ranch family, the Bundy event that happened. For someone, that I was around, very noticeable to seeing all his actions and what he was going to do. To this, it makes no sense. And he's very stunned. He's very stunned. Just like, what? I have 100% support on CNN, and then now it doesn't. And it's just, it's confusion, and it's electromagnetic. So here's what we're going to do. I want to take a quick break here, and when we get back, I want to get into just that. We have a few headlines as well, but I want to immediately hone in on the electromagnetic frequencies that I believe are affecting what was once the most powerful position in the world that has now been usurped and completely used by the Israelis, the president. We're going to get into the electromagnetic harassment and torture and poisoning of the United States president. After this quick break here, right here at World at War, we've got a long way to go, and feeling like going extra innings tonight because I'm feeling my own electromagnetic. I don't know about you. Anyways, we'll be back after this quick break. I don't know how many people saw this just over the past week. Steve Bannon. Wowee. What happened to Steve? He appears to have had an accident. He peed himself. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. And he knows he's doing the poo. Look at his pee face.
Yeah, he knows it's happening. He's like, I'm okay with it. Just let it go, man. What was that?
He's like, it's kind of warm. It's very warm.
Wow.
I remember when I was a little kid, Neil, and I was peeing my, while I was sleeping in my bed, and I'm like, oh, damn it. Then I thought, I was kind of cold, and it's kind of warm now, so I'll just kind of make the best of it.
Yeah. We could talk about urine therapy. It's actually, it's actually filtered blood, ultra filtered plasma. If you drink your own urine. I don't know if Jim has any experience with that.
I have a friend in New York, but he's been going through some weird things, and he is using urine therapy. He's soaking his legs in urine.
Yes.
To cause him to heal. It actually works because it's medicinal.
People using their own urine, put on their skin to consume, using it in enemas. It's a big thing line. I can wax eloquent about that as well. And then aged urine. They call it the liquid gold. They call it free medicine. The aging serum.
I'm so embarrassed right now.
That's bad.
Yeah, that's really bad. Yeah, Neil, I get it. I think you're right. You're right.
If you have a pee picture where you pissed your pants, feel free to email it to us, where we are putting a expose, wonderful front up. As you can see, this is Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas, and it's needless to say, this was her last performance as of to date. Feel free to email us at info@RealDoomTV. We want to see what's going on, and you're under trunkers, as they used to say. Anyways, what a detour we just took there, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Urine is definitely better for you than Gatorade. I'll tell you that for sure. Gatorade's no good.
You're definitely you're in the right place.
I don't know how we start talking about consuming our own urine. Dean, was that your fault?
I don't know, but I've got to pee really bad. All this talk about it.
Don't waste it. It's gold, man. And especially like aged urine, 21 days, that kind of thing. It starts. It's look into it. Look into it.
Thank you, Neil Bishop, everybody. Just a wonderful.
I wanna know that's right. The right is okay, but what's wrong? I want a short and good, where's it twice as long? I'm stepping out of this old brown shoe, because baby, I'm enough for everyone. I'm so glad you came there. Won't be the same, cause I'm telling.
What makes people all over America break down and cry like this? Call 1-900-9099-CRY and hear it for yourself. $2 for the first minute, 45 cents each additional minute. If you're under 18, ask your parents before you call. 1-900-9099-CRY.
I'm so happy with Soul Glow. It makes me feel great and I'm so grateful.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. I'm still Dean Ryan, cruising with you to midnight and beyond right here at World at War with all of you. A special edition tonight, as in case you're just joining me. Just had an incredible 2-hour experience conference with some of our very own friends of the neighborhood here. Our very own James Martinez and, yes, Mr. Urine Therapist himself, Neil Bishop. And let's just say when the next MK Ultra hearings come up, we'll be right there, and I think we're going to have a heavy hand in the disclosure. I'll just say that for you. Tonight's show is brought to you by the people who make my soul glow, and I'm talking about the Nine Owls. Yes, and have you become a Nine Owl? Well, you should. Become one and get in the know, become a visionary debonair, become an electromagnetic practitioner of your own right and accord, and become iconic, not ironic. And all you got to do is go to realdealmedia.tv, realdealmedia.tv, and join tonight. Be part of the movement. Don't be left behind. Isn't that wonderful? I think so. Also, tonight is brought to you by, I must say, those who have helped donate to World at War and keeping this broadcast a viable thing, because we don't have the Zionist money and we don't have enough military experts, CIA analysts inside that is taking the Mossad money either. So I think you catch the drift and the point. All you got to do is go to givesendgo.com/World at War. As we are hanging on by pins and needles. I don't know how I've made it this long, but I'm still here. I'm still surviving it. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, and so is he. I believe that's me. Okay, thank you. Anyways, we have a lot to get to. As we're going to now venture into the world of electromagnetic frequencies, a device that I believe is being used on Donald Trump as we speak and has been for X amount of time. But this time it's clear, it's self-evident, and it's actually being projected as if, as if we don't have memories, but it's similar in a similar kind of module as the voice-to-skull tool that the CIA and the cops use here domestically, the Mossad. It just has to be in the same room as the very cornered President Donald Trump, to then pursue their objectives for the greater Israeli experience of their own. Because they've been using this country to get their way for quite some time now. They're just about done using our credit cards now, as we have been maxed out, and they're now about to use the Punjabi Indian credit card over there in New Delhi and elsewhere, as they said, although we don't want to live there for pretty obvious reasons. But we're going to live in Argentina, but we're going to use the Indians' loot and their rubies and what have you, if you don't mind. You see, and if you don't abide to us, then we'll get you some way. Just like they got those Iranians with the pagers and the mobile phones that exploded, and that's very worrisome because they have also made a deal with Samsung. So everything you type on your phones, even if you believe you're using a cryptic app, well, you'll notice that you're still using the Samsung keyboard, and Samsung partnered with Israel. So they're very intertwined in the most everyday use, the everyday things we use, I guess you could say the fabrics of life. Because in the event there would be a time and a day that people would wake up to what, the nefarious actions and operations of these very, very evil people. They don't really have a standing army that would withstand a true fight. They are what Ric Flair was to wrestling. They can't beat you pound for pound, tooth for tooth, but they sure can throw sand in your eyes and pay someone else to beat you up, you see, and then say and claim it was out of self-defense. And that's what made Ric Flair one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. And those of you out there that know what I'm talking about, I'm sure you agree. Let me show you this here. I'm on the special last night. You might have noticed the following: a gentleman on the local news over there in Israel proclaiming that Iran, who is just so magical that, Iran, according to the Israeli Today, the people around Trump, they're the ones who first tried to take Trump out in Butler, Pennsylvania, and we've been hearing about the next new 9/11 that's going to be carried out by Iran. You had the Bush administration do everything they could after the Iraqi war, I should say during the Iraq war, to, well, let's just, let's hop over and bring this war to Iran. And you may recall that. Who remembers the swift boats going around the U.S. Navy boats close to the Strait of Hormuz circa 2007, 2008? And the released audio the audio that was released to the public from that almost Gulf of Tonkin moment where the Iranian swift boats, according to our media, they were going to blast our ships and sink our ships and kill everyone on board. And when you heard the leaked audio of that, it was the fakest, most childish fakery I've ever heard of. It was so bad that I think Fox News only played it once, and they said, "Okay, time for another story." That's how long this Cold War with Iran has been happening, and it's been in the works since 1979. Since 1979, since the hostage situation, which, poor Jimmy Carter. Little did he know his very own head of the CIA, George Herbert Walker Bush, was in direct contacts with the mullahs, telling them, no, keep the hostages until Carter's out, make him look weak, and then put Reagan in. And then when Reagan gets in, don't worry. I know he wants to get us back to the gold standard. We'll shoot him and then bring him and fly him all the way to the head of the MKUltra program where they'll work on him. And that's exactly how we got here. And on and on. But let me show you this. Just so you know, I'm not a hocus pocus insider who is going to be selling you on the mythical, magical thoughts and narratives that, we're searching for stargates. Let alone, or maybe Elvis Presley is Trump and Trump is Elvis Presley. I mean, that's the lunacy that we've been in for quite some time. That's the lunacy. And it has ended for a lot of people a long time ago, but there's still people who are experiencing the hot flashes of it all. Here is what I'm talking about. This was it's in Hebrew, but my
עם הנשק הזה, ולפי דעתי, החדירו לו למוח את הגלים האלו. אני לא בדיוק יודע, יכול להיות שאפילו ברוסיה, כאשר הוא היה ברוסיה, זה מאוד קל, אפילו מהשגרירות בוושינגטון, סליחה, בסין.
Sorry, China, they hit him in China. He's saying they can see this weapon from the routines in Washington.
אז אורי, למה אתה לא מפעיל את הנשק הטלפתי שלך, האלקטרומגנטי שלך, כדי לאזן אותו מחדש?
Your telepathic weapon. Okay, so
ממני לעשות את זה, ואני עובד על זה.
That's enough, thank you. Okay, let me get back to this. So there you go. Give you an idea. I mean, they're openly talking about this on Israeli television, which is just a wonderful projection, if you ask me, because we know the man was poisoned during 1.0, and here he is now. Now, what exactly am I talking about? And then from this, we will launch into once we learn what the ailment is here at the online medical school. Once we learn this, then we will now just divulge through some of the headlines, and you can apply this to what we're going to be consuming next. So we're going to have the tools to now be mind control, not practitioners, but investigators, I guess you could say. Now, here's a wonderful little article I found, and there's plenty out there, and a lot of them don't have pictures that accompany. So for many people, that could be very hard. I know men, we are visualizers, as women know. Well, here's a look at this. You can, so you know what I'm going to be sharing with you. So this is the electronic harassment. I mean, this is Anna Toledo's territory. But what better way to discover it and fumble through it on our own accord? Okay. Excuse me. All right. Now I'm over here. Or am I over here? Okay, so electronic harassment, torturous patterns, electromagnetic torture, cybernetic torture, the crime that people complain most about, yes. Now, this looks like a tortured man. Look at that. You could see the torture. He's not sleeping. He's not eating well. In fact, the story we're going to be doing after this, you're going to learn, again, how he has swollen ankles. They're saying they're turning into cankles. Yeah, this is torture. This is what it does. And I'm going to tell you why we can't really do much about it. And there's people that are trying to change that. I'll explain after. But just to get through some of this, so we have a little bit of the understandings now. They're saying the torture patterns have been referred to the crime people complain about the most. It's argued that the health incidents, the health attacks, according to the State Department. Yeah, so this is real. They use it against diplomats over there in Cuba and China, the Havana Syndrome. We're very familiar with that. And it's electromagnetic torture, cybernetic torture, and cyber torture itself. So all the agencies have this. They know about it. It's a bioethical issues, electromagnetic stimulations. And this is straight from their documents as well. Sudden contractions of the face, muscle fibers, equivalent to painful stimulus of being hit. Now, how many of you out there have heard Donald Trump speak in, I don't know, the past couple, since February? It doesn't sound like he's had a stroke to you. And he's so bewildered, like they're literally telling him that he had to kill the mullahs, the imams of the head of the state there, the religion, because he was going to bomb us and he was going to try to assassinate Trump like they tried to in Butler. And he's going along with it, and he's just buying into it because the mental manipulation, artificial, the tinnitus, which I believe I have, although I'm not hearing voices, which tells me no one really even wants to talk to me in the paranormal world. The brain-to-brain interface. And this stuff is important to know because this is what the data centers are all about. This is what the true 21st century warfare is all about. It's not about who has the most, weapons, ammos, who has the biggest gun. No, it's about who controls the brain. This is exactly what James Martinez talks about. And he is fighting for everybody's rights to have this freedom and to be left alone. One man, he's one man that's doing it. And we're all one, we're all people are in our own rights, but we have to learn who the enemies are before we attack. So here's the key thing here. Mental manipulation, patterns of the torture. We've all heard this. So just to, these are being used predominantly in the United States and Canada. The United States and Canada. And that's what we're figuring out. So you have a little background on that. And you look at Canada too. And by the way, I think they're also using these on specific groups rather than just individuals as well. I mean, we see a huge cognitive shift and change. People that are, totally fine on one end, and then in public they're just very violent. And I happen to believe they're using them on the African Americans in the United States, in low income areas where there is a low vibration within that culture, but there's magnetic frequencies all around them. There's Planned Parenthoods all around them. There's a liquor store at every corner all around them. And you add that to the depleted supplements and minerals from our very own food coming from the soil that's being sprayed with with glyphosate, which, by the way, I should add, is also now being sprayed in Lebanon by who? Yes, the people giving it to us, the Israelis. But not kosher food. Oh, that's pure as apple pie from heaven. But so you add the depleted and the depleted minerals and supplements within our own foods, from the fruit to the vegetable to the glyphosate-ridden white bread in your refrigerator now. Well, just like Natural News has shared and told us all this time, what does that create? Well, it creates a anger. It creates a disturbance, a irritation, and that's how the mind control works. Let me give you another example. Well, Walmart, they just changed all their lightings in all of their stores that are extra bright, extra, ultra fluorescent. Okay, what's the big deal? Well, they've also have very reflective floors that you're stepping on. And what that does, it creates a irritation that internally, it's like you're like itching to get out. But you have to buy something. So you're not thinking, you're just, okay, let me buy that, and let me get out. And that's part of the manipulation. That's part of the irritation just in that small, minute angle of that, the weapon that we're talking about. And on and on and on. Here is, let me give you another example here. They talk about these, this is uploading a system remote, the neurologicals to the brain. I want to share this with you as well, because we're going through this. We're all going through it. You talk about something, and what do you know? It's on your news feed and whatever social media or platform you find yourself on. It's now to the point you don't even have to say anything. They know it. I'm like, wow. How do they know I wanted a maple bar with just a coffee? How do they know? Well, they have it down to a science. And remember, we're using Israeli technology. We're using the psychologists that stem from that Talmudic region. Here's another one here. Let me share this with you. Well, here is a fine gent who's sharing this with us. Hacked by system uploading, remote neural manipulation attacks, ELF waves knocking me out into short force-induced sleep as trying to read a Bible, listen to a Christian content. remote neural attacks targeting sensory neural pathways by manipulating automatic sympathetic nervous systems of victims using artificial brainwaves. It's not cyber torture, it's mind control. Yeah, it is. CIA mind control is a weapon system designed to force victims to harm others or self-destruct. Isn't that exactly what Donald Trump is doing right now? I better get, this is what he said. This is what he said. This is important too. This is what Trump said. I'm going to get the leader of Iran before he gets me. This plays into exactly the type of magnetic frequencies that they are shocking him with. Absolutely. Continuing. Let me get back to my corner. So yes, the cloning means to copy someone else's brainwaves onto another person. So you got Netanyahu in the backdoor closet whispering into a CB radio that's connected to a magnetic frequency saying, you will hate Iranians. You will drop the bomb. You will allow us to use our nuclear weapon. That's why sleep deprivation torture and altering the sleep cycles is so crucial to the technology in order to place the brain of their victims into a state of functional disorientation where the victim cannot recognize the modification of his or her memory in real time, fight back against the system influences. Is that not exactly what's happening to this sleep-deprived former strong leader of a country, Donald Trump? Yeah, it's exactly what's happening. It is. So we're making the case more and more here as we're learning more about this, because the future is on. The future's coming on. It's now. It's happening. And what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? Because you can't vote your way out of this. We have a captured body of Congress and Senate, right? You cannot vote your way out of it. So looking back now, now we can see now. We can see now why there was a demonization of the militias, right? We can see why there was a demonization of guns, specifically on the coastal cities, specifically in to add our Commonwealth friends over the pond there and just north of us. Because if anything, when it all comes down to it, the greatest fear of this conglomerate from hell are just the individuals who hide behind that blade of grass with a musket and a AR-15. In no order, predominantly no order. Okay, so now I want to tell you about what's happening here, because the health of the president. You see, so we visualized it. We took a little crash course on what these waves are affecting, and how many of us have to look at our phone in the complete dark right before we sleep, or else we don't feel whole? And that's the EMF addiction. That's the EMF addiction. That is, it's capturing our moods. It's disrupting our routines if we're not paying just enough attention to the EMF waves. It's grappling our minds. We need it. It's equivalent to what they say, just cat urine. When cats start living with you, there's something in their it sounds crazy. I swear to God, it's true. There's something that's in their dander, and that gets into our brain. And they say it's like a worm, and that's why the Egyptians worship cats. So here we are. EMF is the new feline. So you add that now to the following. So we have now Trump, who's fumed about coverage of his swollen ankles as the White House staff secretly whispers about his age. How about whispering, hey, Trump, you're being mind controlled. Come back to the people who really care, and let's get you out of this mess, because we have been infiltrated and they have their finger on the trigger button. How about that? Because we got some real problems here in the domestics that have yet to be addressed. Everything's about the foreign policy and the advancement of the Talmudic worshipers. A ball. Now they're saying the president is on track to set the record to becoming the country's oldest president, surpassing Joe Biden, who left at 82. That's if Trump makes it past the midterms. And I put a clip on that out. I had James Carville talking about that, and for the people out there who can't differentiate covering and doing a report on something and saying, here's gospel, this is what I believe in, pay attention, because it's not just James Carville saying that, it's everyone else. I just use the James Carville because he's just such an oddball to look at, and it's great for television. So now they're saying that they reported that some of Trump's aides began to say privately for the first time that he was beginning to seem very old. Oh, really? Just now? They're saying now those who spent time with him could see the signs, the moments of fatigue, which, by the way, I'm on record saying he looked fatigued to me all the way back in late 2023 and throughout the 2024 campaign. I certainly was inspired. I certainly didn't watch any of the rallies, didn't learn anything, but I saw a digression, I guess you could say. Now, aides haven't, it now says aides haven't attested to that publicly, with little Secretary Marco Rubio testifying earlier this month that he had never seen the president fall asleep at all in meetings. Now, this is what's happening. I guess this is embarrassing for him because he's going through all these different shifts in cognitive states that Trump did demand the White House get in front of the stories about his thick ankles, a case of chronic venous insufficiency. So, yeah, he's having a hard time, but that's a problem. He's getting zapped. He's getting tortured. And because the public as a whole is so oblivious to a lot of these signs, certainly a lot less people today compared to 10 years ago, but nonetheless, it sounds science fiction to people. It's because people don't know. They're not privy to these avenues. They don't have the time, and they can't overlook the cult of personality, good, bad, or indifferent, to the actuality of what is actually happening to the American president. I mean, I still can't get past that there was an American president beforehand who was wearing a mask for the entire, 4 years. And how people could just go on radio, TV, whatever the case, and talk about that person as if it was a real figure, a real entity. That was not a place I could comfortably go to. But we get the gist on this. Here's another one. Trump gets, because of this now, the mental decline because of these attacks on him, Trump gets negative reviews internationally as fewer people around the world see the United States as a reliable partner. Why would they believe that? Just because, if we bomb an old girls' school, we illegally invaded and raided Venezuela and Iran. I mean, what's the problem? And by the way, these actions, just this year alone, these are the mirrored actions of Israel. Notice that? And some of the things he's saying, the sentiment, the demeanor, the tone, was almost as if Benjamin Netanyahu was the Trump whisperer via the magnetic frequencies, because everybody can see it. So yeah, and it's affecting you and I out there, because even if you travel out there, you can feel the tension or you feel the awkwardness of going abroad. Many people still do, and people are looking down on you. They're frowning upon you. And we did the same thing here. When the COVID thing happened and it came out, Wuhan, China, we did the same thing here to the Chinese Americans and, Chinese from abroad. And how many people said, well, just bomb them all. Bomb them all. well, then you'd have to then put aside the fact that how about there are captured people as well who have no idea in some cases, and then also then you have to negate the fact that the so-called virus from a band who loved us. Well, it was made here, but it was sent there for plausible deniability, and that goes into the Fauci files. Now they're saying across at least 36 nations have been polled. A median of 23% of adults now expressed confidence in leadership of the world affairs. In many countries, confidence in Trump, not so much. Overall ratings for the United States are also largely negative. Favorable views of the country have declined in many places over the past year. And it's only beginning to blossom and bloom now, including double-digit drops over there in Indonesia, Italy, Nigeria, South Africa, South Korea, and Turkey, for starters. Yeah. Amazing. And certainly Muslim populations have no reason to trust us. Yeah, poor remarks. Now, this was supposed to be the peace candidate. That's how it was sold. It's certainly not going that way. And we're getting a whole piece of something else instead. So that's how that one plays out. Now, here's something I'm going to show you, and I might look at the live chats. I feel daring tonight. I feel very daring. And everybody has a handler, too. Everybody has a handler. Did you hear this? Speaking of the everyone has a handler claim. There's a totally offshoot of everything we're talking about, but to make the point, it's coming out that one of potentially the handlers of Whitney Houston, one of them was Clive Davis, who just passed away the other day. Clive Davis was a longtime music mogul. I would make the case a Don Vito of the gay mafia of Hollywood. No offense to Quincy Jones. But now it's also potentially coming out, even more so, that Oprah has a heavy hand in a handler position of Whitney Houston, who's no longer with us. And, you know, where there's Oprah, there's definitely going to be death, destruction, deception, and very, very seedy, salacious kind of details that follow with it. And that's who Oprah Winfrey truly is. She's a witch. Continuing this. Let me show you some of these things now. I wanted to show you, if you don't know who Giorgia, I guess I should say, the Italian Prime Minister Meloni, she has been becoming an international rock star. Was, but even more so now. She has taken on the Don, the American Don, in a spat, but also she has begun a domino effect and ripped up all of the Italy-Israeli contracts and agreements for business. I don't know if you heard about that, and you're going to see more of this. Here's what I'm talking about. Have a look at this one. This is her. Little Iranian pop music. I don't know who that is. Might have been Shakira. So yeah, that's what the Melania, that's what she's doing. But here are some other things. Now, I made the claim about Iran earlier, and you got to kind of remember too what I was sharing with you about the reframing. You know, when other countries, no, they're not nice people. Let me reframe your perspective on it and give that to you. Just like when CNN does their international news with international correspondents, well, they have to, it gets reframed what they're saying because they use the same satellites they did for the longest time that the Pentagon. So it was getting filtered through the military-industrial complex. And the same applies today on the independent media reframers, because the grassroots is the true fuel, is the true petroleum for iconic change and revolutions. And that's where they have to stop a true change that they can't control. Let me show you some other things now. So this is Iran. And the reporter asked the Iranian foreign minister, Artagachi, they asked him, why don't you request a ceasefire from the United States? And it's very interesting what he says, because I think the Iranians are well aware that there's a decline in Trump. And I think
On this motion, the yeas are 50, the nays are 48. The concurrent motion is agreed to.
Okay, see what happens there when we get a little too deep there. You get taken down. That's interesting. Yeah. And sadly, I'm used to it by now. Let me try to let's start again. I was talking about Iran, and it goes. What just happened there? This goes into the mind control. Anyways, I think Iran is aware of what's taking place to Donald Trump. I think they clearly can see the decline, the cognitive, and on some small level, some degree, I think they're entertaining it with the Lego cartoons that they released in time. And I don't think they take serious the serious threats, because this is a person who is being zapped by this stuff. And I'm about 70% on that wavelength of thought. And I want you to hear the foreign minister of Iran now talk about this, if we can, if we are able to. If I can't, hopefully it won't be disrupted again. All right, here it is, and let's pray this works. Foreign Minister Artagachi. Not because. Let me start again. I'll translate for you. So he's asked, why don't you request? He's asked, why don't you request a ceasefire from the United States? And this is his response to it. Here we go. One more time. We'll check it out. When we say we don't, it's not because we're seeking war. It's because this war must end in a way that ensures our enemies never again think of repeating these attacks and aggression. And I think they've already learned a valuable lesson. They've realized what kind of nation they're dealing with, one that won't hesitate to defend itself and is ready to. Okay, so that's my point. They're well aware. They're aware. They're not stupid, and they're dealing. Yeah, they know what they're dealing with. They're dealing with the foreign actors from Israel who run our government, and that's Israel. And this is why the anti-Semitic laws come. Because when they share with you that you will not, you cannot speak ill will, that's anti-Semitic. That's it. The brazen, the bravado is because they know we're getting close to a point where they can control the thoughts, the minds, and you can make a case that's where the miracle jabs come into play, with the nanotech involved in it, and now. They're putting 6G everywhere. People have increased headaches. That could be due to a lot of that. They know that they're going to be controlling the world, and they say they don't, but we know they do. And we're trying to make a change to that. We want to be controllers of our own destiny. So that's the Iranian foreign minister. Now, here's some good news. In fact, let me give you a bit more.
They're in a box.
Let me give you another take on this, and I'm going to tell you some good news here, because I think it's very healthy to have that. Even the nuclear threat of all this. Here's Tucker Carlson talking about it, just to add some additional opinion to it all. Talking about the nuclear threat, because it was mentioned. It was mentioned by Ben Gvir, the minister over there in the parliament. Check this out, and then we will discuss after.
They're in a box, and in general, you don't want to put people in boxes. You don't want to corner them, people or animals, because they do unpredictable things. And so I think Israel's a threat. Israel has one trump card. It's nuclear weapons. And you don't want to put Israel in a position where they feel they have no choice but to use those weapons. I think Israel's always been a lot closer to using nukes than any other country. I mean, we know that because they've said that. And I think they're now closer than they've ever been. So I'm not in charge of anything. I'm just a podcaster. But if I were running the US government, I would, immediately distance myself from Israel, stop paying for their genocide, of course, on moral grounds.
So that's the kind of dialogue everyday people are having. Of course, Tucker, this is 101 for him, but he's doing this planned release of when to say things and how to say them. I get the strategy there. I get the strategy. Now, here's some good news. Because of that dialogue, because of this kind of sentiment we're all sharing, whether it's on this very show or it's at the local coffee shop, definitely all the young people know about it. And when we know the common enemy, and we know the face, the origin, and the just incredible plans and blueprints of them, that brings people together, and that's the most dangerous thing here. But here's another thing it also produces. I want to share this with you. The United States Senate just passed the Iran Powers Resolution, an act that blocks military action against Iran unless the congressional authorizes it. Isn't that something? This really happened just hours ago. It is incredible. Here it is. The vote just took place. Yeah, resolution to direct the removal of the United States Armed Forces from hostilities within or against the Islamic Republic of Iran. That is huge.
The yeas are 50, the nays are 48. The concurrent motion is agreed to.
Well, how upset did he look? How upset did he look? Okay, thank you. I just want to show you what's on my C-SPAN feed, in case you need help going to sleep tonight. Okay, so there. And here's another example of the kind of frequencies and brain abnormalities of the mind control field. Just another victim of it. A person that when you look at him, you say, "Oh, of course." Yeah. Why wouldn't he? And if you don't know who I'm talking about, well, you will know in a minute, because there's a few different versions of him. I'm talking about Mr. Fetterman right here.
Ask this: why the deep hatred for Israel? Why?
Yeah, because I mean, if you have such contempt for Israel, I mean, of course, you're also anti-American and you're anti-Western civilization, and you're seem anti-capitalism and the American way of life. I mean, now they're all socialists, of course, and now there's communists and now Marxists, and now they're proud of this. And now, of course, we have P. Hustle in Maine. That's another one. He's a self-avowed, communist too. Now that's not even looked down on and a significant part of the Democratic Party right now.
Okay, Thank you very much. Okay, so thank you. That's Fetterman. Yeah, and we know he has the cognitive earpiece there, and they're telling him what to say. Now, this is the dangerous part about this, and we have to count the wins too, but we have to overall we have to see the dangers around us as we come to a little conclusion here tonight. Why this is now a dangerous moment in time, and a time where we have to take the rosy glasses off and the folklores, is because there is actual legislation and tremendous effort to migrate both of our militaries, both the United States military with Israel. And as the theatrics shares and shows us that, we're getting away from Israel, but we also have to be very, very cognitive of the fact that, well, there's legislation by Senator Tom Cotton in place, in motion, to migrate, but also, and I shared it with you on the special last night, that's the following. Well, it's this one right here. Trump is forcing U.S. companies to manufacture more weaponry. President invoked the Defense Production Act to accelerate munitions productions as Defense Secretary Little Pete the Skeet Hegseth pitched lawmakers on $350 billion in defense to help replenish U.S. stockpiles. Oh, no. It's not just to help replenish. No, it's not just to help replenish us. We know who it's going to be helping replenish. In fact, whatever happened to the fact, okay, we broke into Venezuela. That's one of the oil capitals of the world. Where's all the oil gone? Who's getting the oil? Why I didn't think gas would be so high. Why are we going to be short of gas in about 2 weeks? Where's that oil going? Who's recipient and the recipients of it? I think we know. But this is very telling. And it should show you. So whoever's telling you out there, oh no, we have plenty of weapons to go to war, that's a bold-faced lie. Because the American president, in his powers, he just invoked the Defense Production Act. And this is what the cancer in these alternative medias don't tell you, because they are the reframers and they're getting paid to be one. And it's hard to see people get suckered, and I'm not going to take it anymore, because this is 5 minutes to midnight. In fact, it's almost 5 minutes past midnight, and we have to have some adult conversations and realities about what we're going to do about this. The time is now, just like the time was now when I had the roadmap of the miracle jab rollout. That was the time, that was the moment, and I had the Midas touch and thought to share with everyone. And that's what it's all about. So that should tell you right there, this ain't over by a long shot. This ain't over by a long shot, because there's people at play. You want to talk about the 50-year plan? Oh, it goes well beyond the QAnon and the glam and the glitz of that. This goes into the very foundation of the Zionist reframers in their own right, the elders, the people that are telling Netanyahu what to do, or they're going to kill him and his family. Those old rabbis filled with dust and probably smell like mothballs. Those people, they're not done with this by the long shot. And if the dogs of society that they consider us don't apply to it and oblige, we will be punished. And that's why they're promoting through their surrogates in the media that there's a potential 9/11 around the corner. And yeah, Iran will do it too. It's going to be them. We're just going to tell you right in the forefront. You see? So that's why this is very, very key. Very key to the equation here. Okay, let me look at some of the chats, because we're at that time now. I'm about to almost go 2 hours. I haven't done a 2-hour show in eons. Okay, we have a lot of people here. We have, let me see here. Excuse me. We have this one. Yeah, everything's malfunctioning tonight. I don't know if you've noticed that. We have Rebel Mama who says, Dean, what side is India and China on? My head is spinning. See, India violated, actually, a lot of the other countries in BRICS when they allowed another main player in BRICS to be attacked. And meaning they were aiding and abetting Israel by making contracts with them and partnering up with them. I would say that I don't think India is a friend at all. I think Indian people, I mean, generally speaking, here in the United States, I don't know about Canada. I mean, they're nice people, and they make up the medical field, but it's a corrupt, obviously, government that cannot be a centralized, functioning government for such a huge continent over there. But India is doing what Mexico does. They don't want a middle class. They want a ultra rich, and they want the slum dogs on the bottom, and they still want to practice the caste system. And what Mexico does is not much different. They push their poverty onto us because they fear the middle class, and they have one of the highest millionaires per capita in Mexico City. So they're just doing what Mexico is doing. But the question is, who is pushing the mass migration? And who's pushing the ghetto of the Muslim world, the dangerous, into our Western cultures and civilizations? Because if you didn't know any better, you would think that, Muslims are just a bunch of people walking around with Sinbad swords, cutting people off and, just doing rituals against the kill whiteys people. That's what you would think, and that's what many of us thought for quite some time. But it's the Zionists who are doing it. Ask Ben Shapiro. He was a part of the Biden years in all the migration, because there's a real hatred of the Europeans. There always has been by the Zionists. Certainly they hate the Catholics more than the Muslims. There's a real hatred. And this is what they do when they're done burning and using the United States, our credit card, our blood, our treasure, our oil. They're going to burn us because they don't want us to retaliate against them with the great fury and consequences and justice they deserve. Actually, that we deserve the justice. You know what I mean? That's why we've been depleted. But we have a mind control president, as we're now learning. Okay. Oh, India and Russia. Well, see, I think Russia is the good guys. You may not know this, and we're going to close this off. That's the last question, but you may not know this. Russia actually has a migration program for the West, for people in the United States who want to get out of the United States and become a Russian citizen. I think a good example of that, and quite frankly, is Steven Seagal did that. A lot of people did that. Another actor, a lot of actors have done that over there. So I've never viewed Russia as the bad guy. If anything, Russia kicked out the Zionists. They kicked out their corporations. That was an evil sin, and that's why they've demonized Russia in our media for how many years now? And that's why they overthrew the duly elected government of Ukraine, 2014, by CIA coup d'etat. Ukraine is nothing but a narco state like Mexico, who I'm sure has biolabs as well. And they did it because Russia took back their country. They brought back Christianity, and it was the Bolsheviks in the way they slaughtered and killed Anastasia. I'll never forget when I learned that. And then they installed a Zionist puppet named Stalin, and the rest is history. So we're going to leave it there. Final thought here before we get too long in the tooth is, as we forge the forest here of psyops, falsehoods, and personas, and now you can add reframers to that. I think keeping a healthy mind and a open dialogue like this is very needed, because you know the reputation of a man by his enemies, but you know the character of a man by his actions. And that I can tell you, my character And a lot of you out there, my actions has never been to deceive people, but to bring people to the light in a better place than where we are, because we deserve much better. And certainly that's my actions, and that's my character, and that's what I can live and die in, called integrity and truth. So on that note, I'm going to leave it there. I will be back tomorrow in some way, shape, or form, and I'll be much earlier. I hope, I promise, I hope, I think, I know. So until next time, for all of us here at Real Deal Media's World at War, I am Dean Ryan saying thank you for sharing a bit of your late night with me. Hopefully you got something out of this, and share it far wide. It's a long show. Until next time, always remember to stay tuned and stay awake. Good night, everybody.
That's